Hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Garvey and we are here to talk about making comics today. And in today's video, it is another indie comic critique. Today we have kindly been sent Skylights issue 1 by Keith Morgane. Keith, first of all, dude, thank you so much for sending me this book to have a check out. I really did enjoy it. And if you do like the look of Keith's book, all his details will be in the description. So, feel free to, go and support him, buy his book. But, you've sent this to me to have a critical view of it. Have a look at it as if I was an editor and give you some constructive feedback. So that's what I'm going to do. And always remember, everything I say, comes from a place of love, purely because I want you to become a better creator. So anything I do highlight, again, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to push you in that right direction, sir. So with that in mind, let's start with the cover, shall we? Okay, first of all, Keith, dude, absolutely love your art, sir. You've got a lovely Sean Gordon Murphy, with Matt Hollingsworth colours, collaboration thing going on, and the fact that you've done it all yourself is absolutely amazing. The cover itself, I think, is very, very striking, very, very powerful. One thing I would say is, you've put a banner at the top saying a sci-fi adventure like no other, which I'm going to choose my words very carefully here, Keith. That's a very bold statement, sir, and is a statement that I would probably save for your collected edition once the entire comic has been put together and you can show how this story is way more different than anything else that is out there. Is probably the nicest possible way I can put it. But again, that's just my opinion. Keep it on if you want to keep it on. But yeah, it's a bold statement, sir. So kudos to you for putting it on there. As regards to the logo, I think the logo is very cool, very good. I think you've done a great job. My personal preference is I would swap the color of the banner and the logo round, just so that cover pops off, a little bit more, because I think, with the logo and the oranges and the reds actually in the color of the actual cover, I think the title gets lost a little bit. But that's just my personal preference. Keith, it's your book, you do whatever you want, sir, but you've asked my opinion, so I'm going to give it to you. As always, do me black layer for contrast. Absolutely spot on, sir. You've got your dark colors in your main character and the car. Nice light background, so your main character, shows off. Absolutely fantastic. One thing I would say about the cover is, on first passing, I did not notice the aliens on the cover, sir. These guys here. And that's me, obviously, just, reading the comic. I read it 3 times, but I did not notice them. So if I did not notice them, because this obviously is a UFO comic, I'm probably not going to be the only person that doesn't notice them on there. Is the politest way I could possibly say it. Personally, I would potentially look at, maybe recoloring the cover, maybe put this in a night scene and have all the lights from the UFOs, hitting the car and your main character to show that they are there more, because unfortunately, I think they do get a little bit lost in the door panel, because, that's what this book is about. It's an alien book. So that's what I would do. But again, your book, totally down to you, sir. Also, Keith, the fact that, you've credited your proofreader, Leslie, in the front page as well is absolutely commendable, sir. If you watch this channel regularly, you'll know that I'm big on, crediting people that have worked on the book. So the fact that you've included Leslie, gets a massive thumbs up from me, sir. Fantastic. Leslie, if you are watching this, you have done a wonderful job, as the proofreader, but you have missed a couple. Sorry. The first one is, when the fish dies, it should be oh, AWW, not or, as in shock and awe. And the second one is, you've missed an apostrophe here for wouldn't. Again, nothing too major. Can be fixed very, very easily. So, no big deal. But, as a sole proofreader of a book, you've done an absolutely spot-on job. But going back to the comic itself, Keith, again, love your art, love your colours. Your lettering could do with a little bit of work, sir. Your balloons are very, very good. You have a great instinct to butt the balloons against the borders. You do cover up a lot of your own art, which I don't think you need to as much. I think you could perhaps, rewrite some of the dialogue or move some of the balloons around to show off more of your art, especially when it comes to the caption boxes. For example, you've got this main one here where I've just pointed out the missing apostrophe. What I would potentially do is, I would cut this in half. So I would have half of it on, the panel before and put half of it here and then half of it up here. So you're not covering up too much art. or breaking the panel border, because I have noticed that you do break your panel borders with your caption boxes quite a lot, and you do put your caption boxes very, very close to the panel borders in some instances. Like if I zoom in here, you can see it. So you're very close to the panel border here, but less so here. Try and be a little bit more consistent of, their space away from the borders, that kind of thing. But again, minor tweaks, nothing too major. Maybe worth, bringing a professional letter in on the subsequent issues, because they would probably be a lot nicer towards your art than you are, because their job is to come in and cover up the minimal amount of art, and they know, where to put those bubbles and those balloons and those caption boxes, for full effect. So food for thought. Maybe get a professional letter in next time, and if you can't afford one, maybe trade, skills. You'll do a cover for them if they letter your book, that kind of thing. Just putting it out there. Maybe worth having a chat with someone later on. As I said before, absolutely love the colouring. It works very, very well. I do think you need to put a bit more attention to detail where you are colouring certain things. For example, you've got this page here, and I'm going to zoom in so we can see it a little bit better. So you've got these characters where your main character is going to turn up in a second, and as you can see, you've got the sun setting behind them. But then when your main character is here in the next panel, the sun is actually setting behind him. The sun can't set in two places at once, dude. So, it may be worth going back and tweaking some of those colours and, using that, to contrast the panels a little bit more, so you've got one side there, you've got one side there. It will maybe help differentiate where people are. But speaking of your colours, I think you could probably push your shadows and your highlights a little bit more. Like, you've done some really good, some subtle highlights here, on the main dude's face, and some nice shadows, and that's absolutely fantastic. And this is at sunset. But then on like the couple of last final pages, you've got your main character that's, meeting a UFO for the first time, but there's no rendering. This is at night, so there should be some heavy shadows, especially if, there is a bright light, shining in his face, especially if he's holding his hands up for it. And again, I've made this look very, very ugly, but, just a little bit of difference, putting some shade in and putting some bright lights there, I think would make all the difference of really selling, that UFO, appearing. But again, just my opinion, take it or leave it. But I think because you've done the shadow and the rendering on previous panels and previous pages, it may be worth, putting that same amount of detail into the later pages as well. But dude, as I've said, art, story, colours, letters, done an absolutely fantastic job, especially because you've done it on your own. I think the biggest issue you've got, comic pun intended, is I think you have some structural issues with regards to the story. It's nothing that's too bad, it's nothing that makes the story, any less enjoyable or anything like that. But I think, you need to know where your page turns are, and how to use them more effectively. So for example, on the screen at the moment, you can see I have drawn a basic diagram of a comic layout. You've got your cover, which is red, then you've got your inside cover. Then most comics tend to be 20, 24, 28 pages, a multiple 4. Then you've got your back inside cover, and then your back cover. So it's a multiple 4, will print absolutely lovely. Unfortunately, your comic is actually 31 pages long. So yes, you've got your cover, you've got your inside cover, then you've got your 31 pages, and then you've got your back inside cover and the advert for your next comic, and you've got this random page, that's going to be blank. And so it's not going to be printed as well, and I don't think you're using your last page turn, which, if you were doing a 24-page comic, is your last page turn where you do your big reveal. I think you're missing out on that opportunity to shock the audience, put your cliffhanger, that kind of thing. So, and I know you've got your credits page at the front, but you've got another credits page at the back, which I don't think you actually need. What you could do is you could just put all that information on that page and save that space. But I think what you could do is, I think you would really, really benefit from maybe having an editor have a look at your script next time round and show areas where you might be able to trim that story, because currently it's sitting at 31 pages, but I think story-wise, I think you focused a lot on the character having a mundane life, and his life's getting worse and worse and worse. And I think you could focus more on him being drawn to where he's going without spoiling the story more. And I think you could trim those, subsequent pages down quite a lot. I think, you know, with a good editor and a bit of trimming, I think you could get this down to, you know, to at least 28, maybe even 24 pages, you know, if you know, someone's helping you with the structure more, because you need to know where your page turns are. So, you know, this is the structure for your book in the center here. So I've put your comic in here as well. I've made it really small as to not to spoil it, but as you can see, you know, you have these page turns mid-scene a lot of the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for an effective story, it's really nice personally for me and for readers to have a new scene start on a page turn, and it just makes the story flow a little bit better. And if you can get that story down to, you know, 28, I think it's really going to push the momentum of that story, keep the beat, keep the flow of it going a little bit quicker, and I think it's going to take a good comic, and I think it's going to make it into a great comic. So hopefully you found that interesting. Hopefully I haven't been too harsh on you, sir. Remember, this is coming from a place of love. Definitely pick up Keith's book, because I absolutely thought it was fantastic. I can't wait to read the second issue, which is on my to read pile, and I will get to look at it at some point. But if you have enjoyed this video, you know, give us a like, share, and a subscribe, and give us a thumbs up, because that does help the channel. I will see you in the next one, and remember, if I can make comics, anyone can. Take care.